Please welcome His Excellency Duško Marković, Prime Minister of Montenegro, His Excellency Rick Houenipwela, Prime Minister of the Solomon Islands, His Excellency Alan Chastanet, Prime Minister of Saint Lucia, and our moderator, Armand Arton, founder and president of Arton Capital.
I'ma tell 'em all that you can either hate me or love me, but that's just the way I am. I'ma tell 'em all that you can either hate me or love me, but that's just the way I am. 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 Maybe I might get a little nervous.
Honorable Prime Ministers, esteemed guests, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to this panel which will focus on supporting economic resilience for small islands and developing nations through investment migration. Migration is a word that we hear every day. It's in the centerpiece of many conversations from all around the world. We hear about refugees. We hear about economic migrants, but there is one small group that has been overlooked. It's called the wealthy migrants. These investors into second residency and citizenship might represent below 0.1% of the global migration flows, but they have a tremendous economic impact we're going to discuss today. My name is Armand Arton. I run Arton Capital group of companies. We advise governments on establishing migration policies in order to attract FDIs through such immigrant investor programs. My interest in this, I would call unconventional part of the financial industry, started at a very young age. From Armenian descent, growing up behind the curtains of the communist bloc in Bulgaria, I always dreamt of freedom and mobility. But it became reality only when my parents moved to Canada. And overcoming the only thing which is outside of our control, of every person in this room, the place where we're born, and the passport that comes with it, became my passion and the mission of my company. So we've been helping for the last 15 years families to become global citizens by investing billions into developing countries, supporting local economies and creating jobs. In Canada, we have every year around 260,000 migrants, which represents just below 1% of our population. I had the privilege of discussing a few ideas with the Minister of Migration, the Honorable Hussein, and we proudly accept more than 50% of our migration targets as specialists, as economic migrants, 20% as refugees. But there is 1% of investors and entrepreneurs who are pouring more than $2 billion into Quebec Immigrant Investor Program, supporting very important sector for our economy, small or medium businesses. That represents 40% of the Canadian GDP as a sector. We have witnessed in the last 10 years more than 15 countries that after the economic crisis of 2008 have adopted such policies. And today we're going to hear from the Caribbean perspective examples of how these countries have changed the economic face of some islands, representing between 24 and 40% of the GDP of some islands. Funds that have been used to rebuild islands after the hurricanes, building schools, attracting hotels and infrastructure projects. In Europe alone, in the last 5 years, countries like Cyprus, Portugal, Spain, Hungary, Greece have made a complete financial turnaround by attracting billions of dollars from wealthy migrants and getting independence from the Troika, European Commission, Central Bank, and IMF. Today, the global citizenship industry represents more than $20 billion of investments for only 25,000 families who are choosing a second home. And countries from United States to Canada to Solomon Islands, Saint Lucia and Montenegro are fighting for the migrants we don't hear about, the wealthy migrants, the future global citizens. So without further delay, I would like to start by asking the question to Prime Minister Brown, who unfortunately couldn't make it to New York today, but he sent us his response via video message. Hello.
The CIP has been all-encompassing in its impact. The funds are being utilized practically in every sector of the country's economy. So, for example, we have utilized the funds to assist in the pension payments for our senior citizens who are now retired. We have also utilized the funds for training and education. We presently have in excess of 1,000 Antiguans who are on scholarships abroad, and most of the funding actually comes from the CIP program. In addition, we have utilized the funds to improve our infrastructure. Presently, we are building a 5th tourism berth, which will help us to improve our tourism product. I believe that within the next 18 months, we should see in excess of 1 million cruise tourists coming to Antigua and Barbuda. And clearly, if we didn't have the capacity to improve the actual physical infrastructure to construct that new berth, then we would not have been able to achieve this feat. So the CIP program has been utilized in healthcare, in education, even in assisting us to transition into alternate energy. So, for example, we have invested $25 million during the last 2 years to acquire solar voltaic power, and that has helped us to reduce our reliance on fossil fuels, help us to reduce our carbon footprint, and evidently to meet our climate obligations. We continue to transition into green energy, and next year we intend to acquire a further 8 megs of solar voltaic power, and I'm quite sure too that the CIP will play a role there in terms of assisting in the servicing of the loan that we'll acquire in order to purchase that solar voltaic facility.
This was Honorable Prime Minister Brown from Antigua and Barbuda. Now allow me to address Prime Minister Chastanet from Saint Lucia. And the Caribbean nations have been on the forefront of this industry for the last 25 years. And they have been extremely successful in attracting foreign investments, diversifying from sugar and banana production. Do you see Saint Lucia playing a role in unification of this industry in terms of standards, cooperation between the countries, while you compete to attract investments? What level of cooperation you can lead as a model?
Well, thank you very much, Arton. And it's great to be here with your audience. Saint Lucia is very late into the CIP program. And it's for the exact reason why we got into the CIP program as to why there needs to be greater unification. So there was always this debate in Saint Lucia as to whether we should offer economic citizenship. But the Saint Lucia is part of what we call the OECS, the Organization of Eastern Caribbean States, of which there is 7 of us, including Antigua and Barbuda, in which we share a common currency, and we share common laws. We all have parliamentary systems and all follow the practices of democracy. And if a person becomes a citizen in Dominica or a citizen in Antigua or a citizen from St. Kitts, they get the same access to Saint Lucia. So in essence, Saint Lucia was already in the economic citizenship business, except people weren't applying directly to us. And it's that recognition of that commonality and the fact that people get this common access that, in my humble opinion, demands of us that we have a common standard. We've been trying our best to have a common pricing. That's not necessarily always worked out. But I think that time is on our side, and I think that eventually you will probably see some level of common pricing within the OECS. The bigger one really is the background checks and the security aspect and the processing. So we all are supposed to be going through our regional security system. So we have a broader group called CARICOM, which includes Jamaica and Trinidad and Barbados and those other countries, of which we also have some common access to. And it's those regional organizations that are conducting our background checks for us. So we do have a commonality in application form processes, application in terms of how the security is done. But we are now starting to try to see if we can get even more harmony with regards to the CIP program.
Thank you. Saint Lucia was the latest comer 2 years ago when you initiated the citizenship-by-investment program. Can you share with us some of the success stories, what you have been able to achieve through CIP in this short period of time?
Well, first of all, that while the resources that we're going to get from the CIP program are critical, and they're really broken down into two parts. So you can either make an investment into a real estate, which goes to the private sector developer, or a donation through our country, which is $100,000. The $100,000 donation goes into our economic fund, which has its separate board, and it's really being used either for social capital programs, building a school, building a hospital wing, building playing facilities, helping build a prison or a courthouse, or in reducing debt. So if we're going to retire some debt, we can use monies for that. We also have the real estate component of it, in which it goes specifically into a private development. And the person either gets shares or they get title to whatever piece of real estate that they're putting in. But I want to say to you that the premise of our program is also to look at these high net worth individuals and to make sure that on the rebound side that there's an opportunity for them also to make money. So this
has to be a win-win.
It has to be a win-win. Yeah. So we are looking at a residency program with a non-domicile tax rate. We're also looking at the ability to let companies open up a headquarters in Saint Lucia. So we've passed legislation that if a company opens up a headquarters, either sub-regional or international headquarters in Saint Lucia, that they get corporate tax free. There is no personal income taxes of any of the individuals who are working in that company, regardless of whether they are Saint Lucian or not. There's no work permits. And all of the capital investment that that company makes into Saint Lucia is also tax-free. And we will be launching a program very similar to the US program, where if you employ X number of Saint Lucians, we'll then qualify that person to be able to get citizenship, or for a family to get citizenship in Saint Lucia. So that's one of the components. And then, as I was saying to you in the back, we're also looking at an investment component, where we're going to allow people to make a donation higher than the $100,000, and that monies will then go into one of the three local banks that we have. So it means the monies will be managed by the board of directors of the banks. So it means that the bank is getting literally free capital and using that free capital to either lend to local companies, international companies looking to do business in Saint Lucia, or even to make equity. And the persons who are making that donation will get a return in perpetuity on the average of the return. So it means instead of being able to invest in one investment, you can now invest in a basket of investments.
And diversify your risk.
And diversify the risk.
Right, thank you. We heard two examples of Antigua and Barbuda and St. Lucia about countries that have done this in the last 5 and 2 years. We will now pass the questions of two countries who are considering to do it. And my next question is, Prime Minister, tell us about why Solomon Islands is considering to do such a program and what you're looking to benefit and to attract to your islands, and why doing it now?
Thank you, and let me say how grateful I am and very privileged I am to be here amongst you in this audience. Perhaps I should say where Solomon Islands is. I don't know how many people here even know of this country. But we are northeast of Australia. It's almost 2 days traveling from here to there. The country is 600 people, that's the population. It's growing at 2.6%. The economy is very much commodity-based, and there's a lot of donor sort of partners very, very active in my country. So when we heard about this program, and we learned from our friends in Saint Lucia and in the Caribbean, we learned that there are other opportunities that can be obtained through the CIP program. And for a country like Solomon Islands, where unemployment is very high, the economy is not producing those employment opportunities, we see this as a way of leveraging the economy to be able to produce those jobs. And we see that the country has the opportunity, but the capital that's required to make these investments available is not there. So this is a great opportunity indeed to do that.
Thank you, Prime Minister Houenipwela. Tell us about your vision into which sectors you're going to prioritize. What is the most important for the people of Solomon Islands in order to change their life in the next 5 years if a successful program like this is initiated?
So Solomon Islands is an LDC country, and we still continue to put priority in the social sector, namely in education and in the health sector, but also in infrastructure and infrastructure that will support investment in tourism, agriculture, fisheries, and forestry. This is where we believe this is going to be coming from, and there are great opportunities for that to happen.
Thank you. Thank you very much. My last question is for the Honorable Prime Minister Duško Marković of Montenegro. The positioning of your country in the last 10 years since the Declaration of Independence is always being to attract the very high net worth, the elite, and being the Monaco of the Balkans. How the citizenship-by-investment program, which you have announced during the summer, will enhance your offering and will facilitate to attract even more investments?
Prvo, gospodine Arton, da vam se zahvalim na pozivu, da budem danas sa vama i da na ovako prestižnom skupu govorim o tome kakve su razvojne vizije Crne Gore i o našim planovima da te vizije pretvorimo u našu realnost.
Thank you, Mr. Arton. First of all, thank you for this opportunity to be here and to share with you, to share with all of you at this gathering our vision and our perspective for the future.
Mi jesmo prije 10 godina obnovili nezavisnost, ali naša državotvorna istorija je duga više od 1000 godina i različitim spletom političkih okolnosti. 1918. smo izgubili državnost, a 2006. godine povratili. Dakle, mi smo danas i evropska i euroatlantska zemlja.
So, indeed, it's been 10 years since we restored our independence, but our country has a history that goes back to 1,000 years ago. Actually, in 1918, we lost our statehood because of various circumstances, but in 2006, we restored it.
Danas smo pozicionirani na način da imamo ambiciju, kao što ste i sami rekli, da postanemo najrazvijenija i najrazvijenija zemlja i najprestižnija destinacija na Sjevernom Mediteranu.
Our country is both European and Euro-Atlantic country, and we're very well positioned and are very ambitious to become the best developed country in our region, in our part of the Mediterranean.
Prošle godine smo postali punopravna članica NATO-a, a već 6 godina pregovaramo sa Europskom unijom o članstvu.
Last year, our country became a fully fledged NATO member state, and it's been 6 years since we started our negotiations on membership in the European Union.
Dakle, naša vizija evropske i euroatlantske zemlje se ostvaruje.
Therefore, our vision of a Euro-Atlantic and European country is turning into reality.
Ali našu zemlju želimo da učinimo bogatom, razvijenijom i zemljom u kojoj se živi srećno i sa punim zadovoljstvom.
Nevertheless, we want to make our country even more prosperous, even more developed. We want our citizens to live a happy life, to be more satisfied.
Već drugu godinu obilježimo jedan od najvećih stopa rasta u Evropi.
For the second year in a row, our country has one of the greatest growth rates in Europe.
Učešće turizma u našem društvenom proizvodu je preko 22%.
The share of tourism in our GDP is more than 22%.
Mi zaista imamo fantastične resurse na našoj obali, na kontinentalnom dijelu.
Indeed, we have some spectacular natural resources in our coastal region, but also in the mainland part of the country.
Lord Byron je svojevremeno nekada zapisao da nije nigdje na svijetu vidio takvo spajanje mora i planine.
Lord Byron wrote that he had never witnessed such a beautiful place with mountains and sea. It looks like the mountains are emerging out of the sea.
Dakle, programom ekonomskog državljanstva želimo da Crnu Goru pozicioniramo kao najprestižniju turističku destinaciju na Sjevernom Mediteranu.
Therefore, we want to use this CIP program to position Montenegro as the most prestigious destination in the northern Mediterranean.
Želimo da privatnim novcem naše resurse pretvorimo u potencijal za zemlju.
Therefore, we want to use the private capital in order to transform our country, in order to transform our resources and put them into the best use possible for our country.
Javni novac i državne fondove želimo da usmjerimo u jačanje naše finansijskog potencijala i stabilnosti.
And we want to use our public funds and the state-owned money for reinforcing of our stability.
Dakle, programom ekonomskog državljanstva ulagat ćemo u projekte koji su započeti i u nove projekte.
So we will use the CIP program in order to invest into the new programs, into new projects and the ones that are already in the pipeline.
Razvijati našu infrastrukturu.
We will be developing our infrastructure.
Na taj način otvarati nova radna mjesta.
This will also be conducive to creation of new jobs.
I našu prelijepu zemlju učiniti dostupnom za bogate građane širom svijeta.
And we will make our beautiful country more accessible and open to the well-off citizens of the world.
Oni su i danas u Crnoj Gori.
There are some of them in Montenegro already.
Ali mi želimo da ostanu u Crnoj Gori.
And we want to keep them in Montenegro.
I da sa njima dođu neki novi.
And we also want them to bring along the new ones.
Dakle, vjerujemo da ćemo u oktobru ili najkasnije do sredine novembra promovisati naš model ekonomskog državljanstva i on će biti dostupan svima koji žele da u Crnoj Gori stvaraju, razvijaju svoj biznis i žive.
So I believe that in October or at the latest by mid-November we will wrap up our CIP program and we will make it available to all of those who want to invest in Montenegro and make it a better place to live.
Thank you. Thank you, Prime Minister. I want to say that your country has benefited from the two of the most famous and free PR campaign in the world. The first incident made you infamous last year thanks to President Trump. And the second was actually James Bond walking into Casino Royale in Montenegro 10 years ago. The second one put really Montenegro on the map, and people are still looking for that hotel, which is not in Montenegro. But how you have catch up with that reality for the last 10 years? Give us just a few names of brands and luxury hotels that have arrived after this movie and are part of the reality of Montenegro environment today.
Da, kao mala zemlja, bez obzira na potencijal koji imate, trebate imati sreću.
Well, as a small country, regardless of the potential that we have, we had to be fortunate as well.
Kada je James Bond snimao svoj film, niko nije mogao da zamisli da će Crna Gora danas biti ili živjeti realnim životom iz toga filma.
At the time when the film on James Bond was being made, nobody could imagine that Montenegro would gain such a reputation, it would become so renowned.
Ali je isto tako rijetko ko prije 10 godina mogao pomisliti da će Crna Gora da sjedi za istim političkim stolom sa najvećim zemljama današnjice.
Likewise, 10 years ago, nobody could imagine that Montenegro would have its representatives sitting at the same table with the representatives of the greatest countries of the world today.
I da smo ravnopravni.
And being equal.
I možda zbog toga je nastao i taj dijalog između predsjednika Trumpa i mene.
And that was perhaps the motivation for the dialogue between President Trump and myself.
Ali dakle, rekao sam da mi već živimo realnim životom iz filma Jamesa Bonda. Danas u Crnoj Gori imamo prestižne hotele, Aman, Marriott, Ritz-Carlton, Chedi,
You asked me about.
Regent.
You asked me to make a comparison with the hotel from the movie, and let me tell you that we already have some hotels that correspond with that image. Those are Aman, Marriott, Ritz-Carlton, Regent, among others, Chedi.
Danas Crnu Goru posjećuju najbogatiji ljudi, i ne samo najbogatiji ljudi, nego ljudi iz sporta, umjetnosti, kulture, generalno.
You mentioned those rich people coming to Montenegro. There are very well-off people coming from all spheres of life, coming from sports, from arts, from culture in general.
Ove godine sam se čudio ko je sve to na našoj obali.
This summer I was amazed to see all the people who came to our coastline.
Najprestižniji časopisi i portali nas svrstavaju najprestižniju destinaciju danas na svijetu.
The most renowned magazines and web portals list our country as one of the top destinations.
Thank you, Prime
To
Minister.
je zaista tako, ovo nije marketing, to je zaista tako.
So this is not just marketing, this is not just for the sake of promotion, this is a reality.
Da ne pomisle ljudi da ne govorimo da je nešto što nije tačno. Da.
I
Thank
just don't want people to think that I'm telling
Thank you
something
very
that's
much.
not
In
true.
one sentence, Prime Minister Chastanet, why Saint Lucia?
Saint Lucia is very much an established destination. We have a very successful tourism plan. We're very lucky, the highest per capita of Nobel laureates in the world. We've had 2 Nobel laureates in Saint Lucia. We're on a very aggressive expansion plan. We have 2,000 new hotel rooms, a new cruise ship home port facility coming in, a brand new airport facility coming in. And Saint Lucia has a very clear vision in its mind to become the best suburb in the world.
Thank you very much. Solomon Islands, in few words, why Solomon Islands?
So, well, you travel west or travel east of here, you can't go any further than this is where you get to. And the opportunities are there, as I explained earlier, very much in terms of natural resources, but the opportunities for investments are huge. I'd like to invite all of you to come.
Thank you. Thank you very much, all of you. Thank you for your attention, and we hope that we give you another glimpse of what migration can be for some countries.